When life finally says, enough, this is my story, but it might feel like yours. Because addiction isn't always about alcohol or substances. Sometimes it's our phones. Sometimes it's late night scrolling. Sometimes it's toxic relationships we can't walk away from. Sometimes it's overeating, overthinking, overspending, or simply repeating the same cycle we promised to break. No matter what form it takes, addiction feels like this, a prison with the door wide open, but you can't make your legs move. For years, I lived like this, smiling on the outside, breaking on the inside, saying I'll stop tomorrow, but tomorrow never comes. Until one day, everything snapped. Not loudly, but quietly. It was the turning point. The moment my old life ended and a new one started breathing, that day changed me completely, irreversibly. And if you're here listening to this, maybe life has brought you to this moment too. Maybe this is the moment your story begins to change. Not tomorrow, not one day. Today, let's start. Why we fall into addiction. People think addiction starts with pleasure, but for most of us, it starts with pain. Not a loud pain, but a quiet one. The kind you carry alone, the kind you hide behind a smile, the kind you keep pushing down hoping it disappears, but it never does. We don't get addicted because we're weak. We get addicted because we're hurting, because we're lonely, because we're stressed, because life feels too heavy and no one knows it, because we wake up every day pretending we're fine when we're not, because something inside us feels empty and we're trying to fill it with anything that numbs the feeling. For some, it's substances. For others, it's scrolling. For some, it's food, shopping, gambling, or chasing validation from people who don't even care. For many of us, it's a habit we never planned to fall into, but slowly, silently, it became the closest thing to comfort we had. Addiction becomes the bandage for a wound we don't know how to heal. I didn't realize that for the longest time. I thought the problem was me, that I was a failure, that I was weak for not controlling myself, that something was fundamentally wrong with who I was. I remember looking in the mirror, asking myself, what is wrong with me? But with time, with honesty, with brutal self-reflection, I learned something life-changing. I wasn't addicted to the habit. I was addicted to escaping my emotions. Every habit was an exit door. Every craving was just my heart saying, I don't know how to handle what I'm feeling. I wasn't trying to ruin my life. I was trying to survive it. And here's the truth that finally set me free. Until I faced the emotions I was running from, I would never break the habit that was controlling me. Addiction wasn't the enemy. Avoiding myself was that realization, was the first step toward healing. When you realize you're losing yourself, there comes a moment, quiet, almost invisible, yet absolutely terrifying, when you suddenly whisper to yourself, I don't recognize who I am anymore. Not the version of you the world sees, not the version you pretend to be, but the version hidden beneath all the habits, the pain, the automatic choices, and the life you've been sleepwalking through. For me, that moment didn't come during some dramatic breakdown. No shouting, no tears. No one was around to witness it. It came late at night when the world was asleep and the silence was so loud. It forced me to hear myself. Inside me, there was chaos, a storm I'd been ignoring for far too long. I remember staring at the wall, the glow of my screen still burning into my eyes. My heart was heavy in a way I couldn't explain. I didn't feel like myself. I felt like a stranger, living in my own skin. Questions hit me all at once. How did I become this version of me? When did I lose control of my own life? Why do I keep choosing things that hurt me, drain me, break me? And then a truth revealed itself. One I had avoided for years. People don't lose themselves instantly. We lose ourselves slowly, quietly, one small compromise at a time. One, it's okay just this once. One little lie. One ignored the red flag. One habit we think we control until one day it controls us. I looked back and realized I had been disappearing for years, piece by piece, choice by choice, day by day. It's never the big fall that destroys you. It's the tiny slips, the moments you think don't matter, the days you move a little further away from who you wanted to be and a little closer to who you swore you'd never become. And that night, sitting alone in the dark, I felt the weight of every compromise I had ever made. But here's the strange thing. That painful moment, that realization that I had lost myself, was also the first moment I began to find myself again. Because awareness is the beginning of awakening, and awakening is the beginning of change. The night everything changed forever. Every transformation has a breaking point. Not the kind people see, but the kind that happens inside you, in the quiet, in the shadows, in that sacred space where your truth is louder than your excuses. My breaking point wasn't dramatic. No one yelled. Nothing collapsed. The world didn't fall apart. I did, and sometimes that's exactly what you need. It was late. Everyone else was asleep. The room was dim except for the soft glow from my screen, the very thing I kept numbing myself with. And then suddenly, I felt empty, not sad, not angry, just empty. Like I was sitting with a stranger. Like I didn't know the person I had become. I looked at myself and asked a question I had run from for years. If I keep living like this, where will I be in 5 years? I imagined it. The same habits, the same pain, the same cycle, just deeper, stronger, harder to escape. I saw a version of myself who had dreams but never lived them, who had potential but never touched it, who had a soul but smothered it daily, under routines that were slowly destroying me. That vision terrified me. It was the first time my future felt like a warning. And that fear, that sudden clarity, shook something awake inside me. People think transformation begins with strength. It doesn't. It begins with truth. That night, for the first time in years, I didn't ask the universe to make me stronger. I didn't ask life to become easier. I didn't ask for miracles. I asked for honesty. Honesty about the choices I was making. Honesty about the person I was becoming. Honesty about the life I was settling for. And that honesty hurts, but it also freed me because nothing changes until you finally tell yourself the truth. That was the moment I whispered, "This cannot be the rest of my life." And that whisper became the beginning of my new story. The morning after, when reality hits you. The morning after the breaking point is one of the strangest feelings in the world. You wake up unchanged on the outside, but something inside you feels different. Raw, uncomfortable, exposed. I remember standing in front of the mirror, same face, same eyes, same worries, but I wasn't the same. Something in me was awake. Suddenly, I could see my habits for what they really were. Not comfort, but cages. Not relief, but distraction. Not coping, but self-abandonment. Every time I reached for the habit, I could feel the truth whispering, "You're using this to run from yourself." And that realization broke me open. I understood something I had avoided for years. You don't change when you're tired. You change when you're tired of your own excuses. The excuses that felt so small, "I deserve this. It's just one more time. I'll fix it tomorrow," suddenly felt like poison. Life wasn't something happening to me. Life was something I was avoiding. I saw how many moments I had destroyed because I wanted temporary numbness, more than long-term peace. I saw how much time I had wasted trying to escape emotions that only needed to be understood. And in that moment, I made a quiet promise to myself. No more disappearing. No more half living. No more losing myself. I didn't know how I would change, but I knew I couldn't keep living this way. Sometimes that's enough to start a revolution inside you. The hidden wound behind the habit. Here's the truth most people never talk about. Addiction is never about the habit. It's about the wound underneath it. When I finally sat with my feelings, really sat with them, I realized something simple yet life-changing. I wasn't escaping the habit. I was escaping myself. Every time I scrolled endlessly, it was loneliness I didn't know how to face. Every time I overate, it was anxiety I didn't know how to soothe. Every time I returned to a toxic person, it was my fear of being unloved. I didn't know how to heal. Every habit had a story, a scar, a memory behind it. But I had spent years treating symptoms instead of understanding the wound. And wounds that are ignored only grow deeper. So I asked myself, what am I really running from? Silence answered first, then a whisper. You're avoiding your pain. Addiction is a mask, a costume we wear so no one sees the hurt underneath. The moment you lift the mask, you realize the habit was never the problem. It was your shield, your escape route, your survival mechanism. And survival isn't weakness, it's instinct. But survival is not the same as living. And I wanted to live again. The day you stop shaming yourself and start understanding yourself is the day healing begins. The first step, small but revolutionary. People expect change to be loud, dramatic, instant, but healing is quiet. The first step wasn't huge. It wasn't heroic. It wasn't impressive. It was small, so small no one noticed, except me. It was the first time I said no to the habit, just once. And for the first time in years, I made a decision instead of letting the habit decide for me. That small victory felt strange, uncomfortable, unfamiliar, but powerful. I didn't break the addiction that day. I broke the illusion that I was powerless. That first moment became proof. Not that I was healed, but that healing was possible. Change doesn't begin with a new life. It begins with a new choice, a tiny choice that reshapes the future quietly. The war within, where the real battle happens. No one warns you that the hardest part of breaking addiction isn't the withdrawal. It's the war inside your mind. The old you pulls you back with comfort. The new you pulls you forward with discomfort. Comfort versus growth. Fear versus courage. Familiar pain versus unfamiliar freedom. On some days, I felt unstoppable. On others, I felt like a failure, trapped in my old cycle. There were moments I stood strong in my decisions, and moments I collapsed into old patterns, simply because they were familiar. But here's what I learned. Setbacks aren't a sign you're losing. They're a sign you're fighting. They show you where you still hurt, where you still need healing, where your old self is still attached. Every time I slipped, I didn't fall back to the beginning. I fell forward with more awareness. Addiction doesn't break with perfection. It breaks with persistence. And I promised myself one thing. I may fall again, but I will not stay where I fall. The return to yourself, the first glimpse of freedom. Something beautiful happens when you start pulling away from the thing that was destroying you. You begin to recognize yourself again, not suddenly, but slowly, like sunrise after a long night. You begin laughing again. You begin breathing without heaviness. You begin waking up without feeling ashamed. You begin respecting yourself again, not because you're perfect, but because you're trying. Trying is what brings your soul back to life. Trying is what teaches you self-love. Trying is what rebuilds broken confidence. Healing isn't a straight line. It's a homecoming, a return, a remembrance. You start looking in the mirror, and instead of seeing a failure, you see someone fighting, someone growing, someone rising, someone becoming who they were always meant to be. The light at the end when freedom finally feels real. Freedom doesn't explode like fireworks. It arrives quietly, softly, gently. One day, you wake up and realize the habit doesn't control you anymore. It still calls, but you don't answer. It still whispers, but it has no power. You feel stronger. You feel clearer. You feel awake. It's not that the habit disappears, it's that you do not bow to it anymore. That day, you understand something priceless. You weren't just breaking an addiction. You were becoming the person your future needed you to be. You were rebuilding discipline, rebuilding confidence, rebuilding identity, rebuilding hope. Freedom feels like peace, like clarity, like the ability to look at yourself and say, I fought for myself and I won. And that victory is the beginning of a whole new life. The power of forgiveness, letting go of who you used to be. No one tells you this, but one of the hardest parts of breaking addiction is forgiving the person you were when you didn't know better. For months, I carried guilt like a shadow. Every mistake, every relapse, every promise I broke to myself, it felt too heavy. Until one morning, I sat with my own reflection and finally said the words I had avoided for years. I forgive you. I forgave myself for coping the only way I knew how, for surviving instead of thriving, for choosing comfort over healing, for choosing distraction over courage. Forgiveness didn't excuse my actions. It released me from them. Because you cannot become a new person while hating the one you used to be. Forgiveness is how you free yourself from your old identity so you can step into your new one. In that moment, I realized something incredibly powerful. You don't need to punish your past self to become your future self. You just need to let go. Rebuilding your inner world one choice at a time. Once forgiveness begins, something powerful happens inside you. You start rebuilding. Not your life yet, your inner world, your thoughts, your beliefs, your daily choices, your emotional habits. This is the part no one sees, but everyone feels. I began asking myself small but important questions. Is this action healing me or harming me? Is this thought strengthening me or weakening me? Is this habit feeding my future or starving it? Slowly, I realized something profound. Every choice you make is a vote for the person you are becoming. Every small win, waking up early, drinking water, saying no to temptation, journal writing, walking away from triggers, was a brick in my new foundation. And with each brick, I felt stronger, not because I changed overnight, but because I was finally building instead of breaking myself. Healing is not dramatic. Healing is the daily decision to choose your future over your past. The people around you, the silent influence. There's a moment in every recovery journey when you realize you can't heal in the same environment that hurts you. Sometimes it's not the habit that keeps you stuck. It's the people who normalize it. The friends who encourage the same cycle, the partner who drains your spirit, the family that doesn't understand boundaries, the circle that calls your growth, acting differently. I had to learn a difficult truth. Not everyone is meant to walk with you into your new life. Some people are chapters, not the whole story. So I learned to love from a distance, to protect my spirit, to choose peace over approval. And I realized something that changed everything. When you outgrow people, you don't become better than them. You become better than who you used to be. The moment I changed my environment, my future changed with it. Because healing happens faster when you stop surrounding yourself with things that break you. The return of hope when you start believing again. Hope doesn't return all at once. It returns in small, sacred pieces. For me, it was the day I woke up and felt light. Not healed, not perfect, just light. The day I realized I went 24 hours without the habit and didn't miss it. The day someone told me my eyes looked brighter, my energy felt different, my voice sounded calmer. Those small moments felt like miracles. Because for the first time in years, I could imagine a future that wasn't filled with pain, a future where I was present, alive, awake, whole. And hope, true hope, is the fuel of transformation. Hope tells you, you are capable, you are changing, you are growing, you are rising. Hope reminds you that the worst days do not define your entire life. You begin believing again, not in miracles, but in yourself. The new identity becoming who you were meant to be. There comes a moment in every healing journey where you don't just escape the old version of you. You outgrow it. This is the moment your identity shifts. You stop saying, I'm trying to quit, and start saying, I don't live like that anymore. Not because the habit vanished, but because you did the work to become someone who chooses differently. You begin holding yourself with respect. You begin protecting your peace. You begin choosing discipline over desire, purpose over pleasure, healing over hiding. And suddenly, you don't need the habit anymore. Because you don't need the person you used to be. That person was hurt. That person was afraid. That person was surviving. But this new identity, this new version of you, they're not surviving. They're living. They're growing. They're in control. You don't escape addiction by fighting the old identity. You escape it by becoming someone who no longer fits inside it. The new life when everything finally makes sense. And then one day, without warning, everything makes sense. You realize the breaking point was a blessing. The tears were cleansing. The struggle was sacred. The pain was a teacher. You realize the habit was never the enemy. It was the signal, the wake-up call, the turning point. You desperately needed it. You realize your journey wasn't about quitting a habit. It was about reclaiming your soul. You feel alive again, peaceful again, strong again, whole again. You wake up with clarity instead of confusion, with purpose instead of pain, with gratitude instead of guilt. Your spirit feels rooted, your mind feels clear, your heart feels open, and you finally understand the life you wanted was always waiting for you. You just had to become the person who could live it. This is your new beginning. This is your rebirth. This is your return to yourself. And if you're listening right now, your story isn't ending. It's beginning. When a new life calls your name, there comes a moment, quiet but unmistakable, when you realize you are no longer the person who pressed play on this audiobook. You have walked through the truth. You have faced your shadows. You have understood your pain. You have reclaimed your strength. And now you stand on the edge of a brand new life. Not a perfect life, not a life without struggle, but a life where you are awake, present, grounded, and no longer controlled by the habits that once held you captive. Take a breath right now. A slow, deep, intentional breath. Feel how different you are. Feel the shift inside you. Feel the weight you've released. Feel the strength rising. This is your rebirth. This is you stepping out of the old identity and stepping into the person you were always meant to become. You are no longer escaping your emotions. You're understanding them. You are no longer running from your life. You're rebuilding it. You are no longer breaking yourself. You're healing yourself. And hear me clearly. You are not starting over. You are starting wiser, stronger, sharper, more awake than ever before. Your past did not ruin you. It trained you, prepared you, shaped you, refined you. You walked through hell and came back carrying the fire. A final word for your journey. Before you leave this space, I want you to remember something deeply. Your story is not defined by the chapters you regret. Your story is defined by the chapters you choose to write next. You have the power to stop generational pain, to break cycles, to build new habits, to create a future that your past self never believed was possible. You are not damaged. You are not weak. You are not lost. You are healing. You are growing. You are transforming, and transformation is messy. It is painful. It is uncomfortable, but it is always, always worth it. You are allowed to take your time. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to rise slowly. But hear this, you are rising. You have everything you need already inside you. Strength, wisdom, resilience, courage, a spark that refuses to die. Carry that spark with you. Protect it. Nourish it. Feed it with new choices, small wins, and a vision of the future that excites you rather than scares you. Your new life is calling. A life with clarity. A life with peace. A life with purpose. A life with freedom. Answer it. Step into it. And never forget, you didn't just survive your story. You are rewriting it. And the world hasn't even seen the strongest version of you yet. This is not the end. This is the beginning. I'm proud of you. Truly, deeply, completely. Now go. Go live the life that was waiting for you all along.